Good morning, Vikings fans. Woo-wee.
You and morning this week, right, Joe?
No. This is a celebratory time for some. I did, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but there is a fair contingent of Vikings fans who are still in panic mode. That's just muscle memory in the brain, I think. But the Vikings were victorious over the Eagles. Huge win for many reasons that we'll talk about. But before that, I should probably introduce who's on the show. I am Joe Johnson. I am the owner of purplePTSD.com, VikingsTerritory.com. I also host the Purple Journal podcast, and I am a part of the Purple Territory pregame show. That happens about an hour and a half before every game. I am here with the other Joe Oberle, who writes for Purple PTSD, Vikings Territory, and most importantly, the Sports Post. He's also the co-host of the Purple Journal podcast. How you doing, man? You were eerily close in your prediction for the score of this game. I want to know what your secret is.
I can't tell you.
And what lottery tickets to buy this week, because holy smokes.
Then I'd have to kill you. No, I was, I was a 1 point out, or I had 24-23 Vikings, and it was 23-21. And I did say on the air that I thought Dan Bailey field goal would win it. I didn't think a 52-yarder would get it done, but so I don't know. I just like you throw it out there, and sometimes you're right, and you talk about it, and when you're wrong, you hope your co-host doesn't bring it up.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Joe does a preview article every Tuesday or Wednesday for the upcoming game, and he does his prediction there. We also kind of have an ongoing contest each game we predict, and for once it was close, but I will eat some humble pie, as I did predict a 34-20 loss for the Vikings, and I did say that I hope that I was wrong, and I am more than happy to be wrong about that. We are also joined by Jordan Hawthorn, who
Hello.
I for a second thought maybe was a Nigerian prince, or I was in the middle of some sort of email scam, as we had some scheduling conflicts last week, but he made it to the show.
It was all clean and ready to go.
Yeah, he's either in the shower or just out of the shower. Jordan writes for purplePTSD.com. He hosts Load the Box, which is a new show on the Purple Territory radio network. Man, there's so many different names going on around here lately. He also resides in Cincinnati, Ohio. Do you live tweet, or do you do any Twitter stuff that you might want people to follow you, or?
So I have been, but I'm very superstitious, so I've been staying off of social media in terms of like the Vikings, because last season I had an anti-Viking social media thing. We won a lot of games. This season I was all over Twitter trying to build a base, and we lost some games and tied a game. So I'm testing out some things. But follow me on Twitter at jhawthorn16. Those are the types of tweets that you will get whenever I start tweeting again. Whenever I get out of my own head. But
story of my life.
Bob Hagan from the Vikings. He serves pizza to the media every Wednesday, and if the Vikings win, they go to the same place for pizza until they lose, and then they switch it up. So.
Oh yeah, I'm very superstitious like that. I wear a Teddy Bridgewater jersey that I got last season just because I think it's lucky, and I can't wear anything underneath it. It has to just be that. So I have traditions.
And Joe, I noticed you. Are you doing a little more Twitter stuff too? I thought I noticed you doing. If you wanted to throw your Twitter out there also, I kind of feel like I'm behind the times, and I don't even have one.
I will chirp a little bit during the game. Not much. I'm usually on the chat with on Purple PTSD. So that's where I do all my snarky comments and my that was an incredible throw by Kirk Cousins, and my Adam Thielen is freaking amazing. That kind of stuff is on the chat. So I don't tweet a whole lot, but I'm at Joe Oberle. I think that's what it is. Isn't it?
Yeah, or maybe it's Joe. No, it is Joe Oberle. It's not Joseph Oberle. But yeah, we do a live chat for each game, and then Joe, for those that you don't know, has a press pass, so he's at a lot of the games, which is amazing. But before we get into the game itself, I don't know why this bothered me so much. Because maybe what I'm talking about is the Adrian Peterson comments about retiring a Viking and then basically saying, like, well, I guess all those people were wrong about me because look how good I'm doing and look how bad they're doing. I was always not so much.
That quote before last night. Sorry.
What did he end up doing last night?
I don't know, but he had like 6 yards on 4 carries or something, and he did catch a pass. And I was going against someone in our league, and he needed six points from Peterson to pass me, and he got like 5.2 or 5.8.
Oh, so he didn't get it. I thought he did get it.
No, that was a bad beat for Micah, actually. I don't know if he's probably still sticking needles in his Adrian Peterson now. But the guy stopped. Apparently, he separated his shoulder last night in the game at some point, and they just didn't play him the whole second half. But
AP,
you got to consider your source with those quotes. That's Peterson. He's a great guy, but he's got definitely a inflated sense of self-worth, and especially in his diminishing years. I mean, I think the Vikings will put him in the Ring of Honor, but they won't retire his number because they don't do that anymore. They haven't even retired Randy Moss's number, for crying out loud. So,
is there a reason for that you've heard?
It's because
they just don't want to run out of numbers.
Exactly, that's pretty much it. And because they could be, if they retired everybody that was in the Ring of Honor, they'd be really hurting. They'd have triple figures out there for players. I think that's the biggest reason for it. I don't think they do that for a lot of football teams. I think they did for Reggie White up in Green Bay because he passed away and stuff. But I don't think football teams do that like other teams do. And excuse me, other teams are doing it. Other leagues aren't doing it as much anymore either for those reasons.
Well, you've got to think like the Yankees can't.
Exactly.
They just have so many. I mean, all those guys on the 27 team that would take out a quarter of the jerseys. So yeah, the thing that bothered me is personally, I've not necessarily been I don't want to say an apologist for like child abuse or anything, but I did think there was a difference between what he did and what Ray Rice did, and I do think he got caught up in that huge frenzy that came with Ray Rice. Just because his intention wasn't, to do that. I felt like the NFL handled it really poorly and basically made up rules after the fact, which is like, as a pre-law student at the U of M, one thing that I do remember from going to school is you can't do that. So that bothered me a little bit. But at this point, it's like he's delusional to think that they should have paid him $18 million after all the support that they gave him. His attack on Kevin Warren, and just the fact that like he's a 2-down back and he's not watching the Vikings games. He can't be if he thinks at his age 2 downs somehow with this offensive line, like without giving him the 30 snaps he needs to be productive, that he would do anything in Washington. Yeah,
they're throwing him the ball a bit, and he's he had a couple good games. Excuse me, and so then he figures he's back and all this. But I watched the whole game last night trying to get that fantasy win, and he's like he was when he was with the Saints last year and whoever else he was with. Was he with the Cardinals too or something? And the last time he was with the Vikings, he's not any different. He can still carry the ball and break a tackle here and there, but he's got no burst, and he's on the downhill slide, and he was on the scrap heap before they picked him up, so this will probably be his last opportunity.
Yeah, Jordan, what do you think about AP? Were you an AP guy when he was here?
I liked him, but that was just because he was a Viking. I agree with you on the child abuse thing. I think the NFL was in a frenzy and was quick to lay down some punishment on him. But either way, I think Adrian Peterson's issue is in his old age. I think a lot of old age guys can still make a living in the league if they just kind of take a number 2 position in the offense, and Peterson can't do that. You have to give him the ball like one of you Joes said, 30 times. or else he's not going to get the big production because he's not going to have all those chances to make a big play happen. Plus, I don't know if he can make a big play at his age. So Joe was spot on. Other Joe was spot on. He had 4 carries for 6 yards last night, and injury or not, I mean, injuries come with old age. Like, I hate to say that, but I think he's a little cooked. But I don't know if you guys saw, did you see that quote that he had last night where he said, I still think I'm the best running back in the NFL, hands down. Yeah, I was like, whoa, what are you talking about there, AP? Like,
yeah, pump the brakes.
Has he seen any Rams games yet? I should be sticking up for this old guy. I do like AP. I thought he was great as a Viking, and yes, I agree with you. He got caught up in a bad scene with the whole abuse thing. But to keep saying this stuff and to keep talking about yourself, you're just starting to look your age. Unfortunately, I mean, everybody wants to hang on and keep playing. I mean, I expect now. Drew Brees is going to have a drop off. I mean, these guys, you can see Tom Brady starting to slide a little bit. He's still doing all right, but he's not the same player. And Father Time is undefeated, and he's knocking on AP's door. So leave gracefully, leave the game gracefully, and just go out there and if you're going to get some good games, let that do the talking, and don't answer those questions that reporters are putting up to you to say that stuff, because you just sound silly.
Yeah, would it bother you guys if he, obviously, I don't think it would bother me, but would it bother you guys if he just kept the Vikings out of his talks and then said all these things about how he's still the best in the NFL and stuff? Because I don't think that would bother me. I just don't say you would make us better when you wouldn't,
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of laugh and just say that's AP,
Yeah.
But when it comes to... It's just delusional, and I brought it up just because I thought it was a weird dichotomy. Like, I love the Vikings, and I want them to retire my number, and I want to retire as the Viking, and that's going to happen. But at the same time, they screwed me over, and look how wrong they were. Like, he just, like Joe said, he has that aspect of his personality. But that's something that comes with skill position players. I think that's a part of their personality that maybe makes them good, because you need that drive. Talking about Anthony Barr and his struggles the last few weeks, we've tried to kind of pinpoint if he's been injured or why he hasn't played to the level that he has shown he's been able to do, especially like his rookie year. And I think, Joe, you said on whichever show, he just doesn't have that drive, and you almost have to have like an obsessive personality, like a Keyshawn Johnson type, give me the damn ball thing.
Or just you have that chip on your shoulder and you want to prove people wrong, but
Tom Brady.
Yeah, ultimately,
Adam Thielen.
I was going to say that.
Your skills are what they are, and this league doesn't take any prisoners. It just it is, as soon as things. I mean, look at Emmitt Smith. He was the same way. He just wanted to hang on, and the game has changed. You're not going to be the focal point of the offense, no matter if you stand behind Jay Gruden the entire broadcast, that the entire game when you're not in there, just like you did behind Sean Payton and say, "Put me in, coach." I mean, come on, just get your carries that you get, tack them onto your yardage total, pass the guys you can, and leave the league with grace. That's what he's got. That's what he's got in front of him yet. He shouldn't keep expecting to be the focal point. That's Philippines jet just taking off, going off.
I'm going to punch AP. Before we get into the Tuesday Tales of the Tapes, I just wanted quick gut reactions to the win. I took a lot of flack last week for my take on Zimmer with the hot seat. I said that it could be nullified if they turn things around. I was kind of reading the tea leaves and putting out there that I've seen people say Zimmer's exposed and he can't fix it. People saying DeFilippo. I know. I'm just saying I don't want to look like I did a complete 180 because I did say that they could turn it around and surprised. I don't know if I'm surprised or not. So I'll put this out there for your gut reactions as well. But a lot of there was people defending that argument, my argument. And so when I said I wrote something really quickly on the Vikings territory Twitter. Gut reactions. Thielen's a beast. This is a huge positive step forward. And people were responding saying, we watched a completely different game. The defense still sucks. Blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of negativity that I didn't expect. I think that my reaction to it is sure, there were problems. The defense, ended up with those 2 massive turnovers. I don't think there's ever been a more consequential 2 turnovers in a game. One for a touchdown, one stopping a touchdown for the yeah, just similar to the Buffalo game. And I can see where people are saying that this defense is getting bailed out by these turnovers, but especially well,
they say that.
I say, well, that's part of the game though, and that's the defense is doing well. I will say that Ajayi.
Not like Kirk Cousins came in and fumbled for Ajayi. Come on.
Yeah.
They're not, they made.
I don't really agree with the luck argument. Granted, the ball seemed to come out because he tweaked his knee a lot like Dalvin Cook did, but that happens when you play well on defense. And it wasn't perfect, but it was a huge step in the right direction. The team never wins on the East Coast, historically. Kirk Cousins, the offense didn't put up a ton of points, but man, was he just tough back there. So, I'm not saying all of a sudden they're a Super Bowl contender, but I do think that crisis averted, especially with the injuries that they had. This was a huge step forward, and I was really happy with the outcome.
That was a game the Vikings had to have. They had to do that. They had to go out and cut. When I wrote my preview, I said you got to have Cousins and the receivers playing like they have been. You got to have the defense turn it around. And, you've got to, be solid in the kicking game. And I know that's pretty, generic to say all that stuff, but that's what they needed to do to beat this team. And they had, the defense, neutralized Wentz to a certain degree. They played the game they needed to play. And, you can say they're still not back to last year. That's fine. Go ahead and say that. It's true. But they're a far cry from where they were earlier in the season, and they're moving in the right direction. Zimmer simplified the defense and got them back to making plays that they were able to do. I saw them swarming to the ball. I saw turnovers. I saw 11. I'm going to talk about this later, but the hits on the quarterback, which they needed to do. They made him uncomfortable back there. They did everything that they were supposed to do and had done in the past. Maybe not to that degree, but they did enough to win the game. And so you have to feel positive about it. You have to feel happy that your coach took the 10 days, figured out what was going wrong, told his players, worked on it, and they executed it. It was great to see. It's a great step forward. Are they Super Bowl bound? Not by a long shot. They got a long ways to go. But you don't get there until you take this step that they did last week, or on Sunday. Jordan, what do you think?
Excuse me. Just about the same, One, to address the people who say that the defense was bailed out by turnovers, that's like saying, the defense was only good on Sunday because they made big plays in big moments. Like, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. If you think our defense is bad because they, scored a touchdown on defense and got a fumble recovery, like on a drive that looked like it was going to be a touchdown, I'm fine with that. If they show up and, get a couple turnovers each week, we'll win. But, I was watching the game. The only gripe I had, and it's difficult to find negatives in a win whenever you're so amped up and it was a must win and kind of emotional game and stuff. I didn't like that we kind of got conservative with the lead in the second half. I felt like we were running the ball and we were trying to we were giving the ball to Latavius and to Rock Thomas whenever they weren't doing much early in the fourth quarter. So I sent Joe a message about how the Vikings that big play that Thielen had from the 5, whenever we were real backed up and we just slung one up to him. I like that mentality. Last year in that championship game, the Eagles went for our throats when they had us down and they finished us off, and that's kind of what we have to have the mentality to do, or else teams are going to make these big comebacks late like the Eagles did. And also I didn't like the off coverage that we played at the end. But those are my negative things. I mean, we ran the ball a little better, and Cousins is worth the money right now. I mean, am I insane for saying that? He's shown up and Yeah, I mean, he's shown up in almost every game this season, except for that 2 fumble game. Like, he's just looked so good. He would be an MVP favorite if Mahomes and Goff weren't just ablaze right now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I said before the season I thought he'd be a top 5. I actually felt like he'd be a top 3 MVP candidate with the weapons they had on this offense, and I think that's true. I think Thielen could be in that argument too, but the league doesn't work that way. But before we kind of there's so many things to talk about. I wanted to get into the Tuesday's Tale of the Tapes, which is Joe's segment. It is brought to you by Revitalite. Revitalite is a rehydration solution that you could, a lot like Pedialyte, but for adults. So if you kind of love Sundays but dread Monday mornings because of Sundays, check out your liquor store or check out drinkrevitalite.com for the location nearest you where you can buy either they have a mixed berry flavor, or for the Vikings season they just rolled out a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago a grape flavor, and it's super delicious. So that is the Tuesday Tale of the Tape sponsor. Joe, if you wanted to take it away with the first topic, which I believe was Thielen, oddly enough.
Adam Thielen, I mean, this is an obvious one, but you've heard everybody and their brother and their sister say that he's the first receiver since 1970 merger to get 5 games. Start the season 5 games.
I thought he was the only. They said on the broadcast he was the only one ever.
They have gone back and forth on this in just about every news outlet you listen to. Some have said, both, and I because it sounds like before 1970 when the 2 leagues merged, it might have happened twice, and then I'm not sure. Someone maybe will clarify that. So to be safe and to be accurate, he's the first guy since 1970, which is the modern era of the league, to do this.
Okay.
He had 5 games in a row. That's over 100 yards. And he passed among a couple people. One of them was Randy Moss, who had 4. He was tied with him last week. But, it's pretty amazing. That's a Hall of Famer there. But that's not to say that Moss is, or Thielen is Moss, yet he's not. But I wanted to mention as well, every time I mention this stat, which was huge in this game and has been thus far this season, Diggs is right there. I mean, Diggs had 10 catches, 91 yards. And you cannot, they really are a tandem. Because you have both of them out there, one guy's going to open it up for the other. If you're going to double one guy, then the other guy's going to have single coverage, and Kirk Cousins is going to go there. It's such a great luxury to have, and on top of all that, they seem each week to be such good friends and feeding off each other, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of jealousy in this. That because there's so much diva in the wide receiver position. One could easily say, well, I'm not getting mine. I was a Pro Bowler last year, and I'm the Minneapolis Miracle guy. Come on, where's my balls? But I like what I'm seeing from these two. So it's fantastic to watch, and hats off to Thielen, who just going from Mankato or from Detroit Lakes, $500 scholarship to MSU Mankato, and undrafted. And now he's one. You really got to say he's one of the elite receivers in the league.
Did you happen to see the interview that he did with Deion Sanders from the locker room?
I did not. I heard that he got the shirt. If you ball, you get called or something like you get the calls.
Yeah. So he was sitting next to just to kind of piggyback off what you said about his friendship with Diggs. The entire time he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this because Diggs is so great." And he, the main things I took away from it was one that he said when Diggs has a big catch, I want a big catch. We feed off one another. The quote was, "He puts me in, I get in his zone, or he puts me in his zone."
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and the other one was that Deion said, "Well, are you picking up all these yards because you guys have no running game?" And Thielen laughed, and he said, "There's a lot of variables that go into why I'm getting so many catches, but yeah, that's part of it." So I wonder. I didn't want to be super negative about it, but I wonder what you guys think about the sustainability of him maybe going after Megatron's record, which I think is 8 games in a row with 100 yards. Whether we even want him to.
I I just worry about all the attention that this has brought on him. It's going to be tougher for him. But when you see the way he manhandled these cornerbacks, with both of them, the way they run routes, they are so quick. They're not the speediest players in the team, but they are so quick in their moves and in their routes. It's they're leaving jacks out all over those fields. That's how they get open. It's if they keep
that double move he had on that catch that I think they were at like the 5-yard line.
Yep,
was so sick.
I know, and it's just quickness in that, and that's all you need is to get that separation to get open. I think, and Diggs is the same way. Diggs did something later in the game where he just put a inside and then went back outside, and the guys. It's so fun to watch. They wait till they make that first step and they're done. The defender's done because they're so quick to get open, and Cousins is going to find you. I worry about all the attention. Teams are really going to clamp down because they don't have a running game. But that's why I didn't mind that. Just to refer to what Jordan was saying earlier, he didn't like the conservative nature of the second half. I liked him trying to get the running game out there. A, to milk the clock a little bit, and B, to just get the confidence back in that game and let the other team know that they're going to run the ball, because if they load up on these guys, and they're going to take the passes away if you don't show some kind of running game. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on Adam Thielen, Jordan, before I moved on.
I think you had.
I definitely have some thoughts on Thielen. Number one, everyone thought I had the best nickname for him in the Sunday game.
Oh yeah.
I called him a slot machine. The slot machine. Well, what does he do in the game? He catches a 68-yard pass while he's lined up outside, not in the slot. So now his nickname is the Swiss Army slot machine, because he can do it all. He's such a good receiver. He can, he runs routes with the best of them. He's got amazing hands, and he's a lot faster than you would think. And the issue that teams have with, defending Diggs or Thielen is, okay, well, we'll take away Diggs. Well, now you're not taking away Thielen. And if you take away Thielen, well, what about Diggs? So I think he's benefited this first month or so from. I think Diggs got a lot of attention with the contract and the big catch against the Saints last year. So I think teams kind of thought, okay, so Diggs is the number one, Thielen's the number two, and they've came out and they've shown that that's not the case at all. And then another thing I just want to throw in really quick, we were talking about how Diggs and Thielen, they're friends and stuff. Did you see Thielen's quote after the Rams game? Oh, I'm sorry, it was Cousins' quote about Thielen, what he said to him after Diggs made that tipped catch. Cousins said Thielen walked up to him after that ball got tipped and Diggs came back and caught it off the tip and then ran for a little bit. Thielen apparently yelled at Cousins and went, "The other dog's awake now. Start giving it to him. Get off of me and give it to him." So just that selflessness in that moment, in that game, which is a shootout, to say, "Hey, stop throwing it to me. Give it to him. He's hot. He's the hot hand." So I think they know winning is the number one thing, because that's what matters in the end. So
I'm gonna have to talk to Thielen about that, because I got him on a couple fantasy teams. That pisses me off.
It's funny. I actually have him in all of my fantasy leagues, and in all of my fantasy leagues, I thought to myself in the draft, I'd rather have Diggs, and I'm so glad that he got taken before I could get him, because Thielen's just been a 20-point magnet every week. So,
do you guys feel like that might happen? And if so, who would benefit from that? Do you think that Rudolph might, if they clamp down on those guys? Or I was surprised. I think I took the over on Aldrick Robinson on our contest on Purple Journal podcast. I think it was 2 targets.
One.
And he had 1?
I think so.
Yeah, I didn't see him get any. So I know Treadwell, they're still sticking with him for whatever reason. He did have a big catch, I believe, where he showed some of his physicality. I think he got hit by 4 guys, one of which ended up getting injured. Or maybe I'm thinking Rock Thomas. No, it was that play. Treadwell did have a big first down, but Rock Thomas also got hit by 5 guys, and one of them got injured.
I think you're right. Rudy had 5 catches and one of them was huge in the waning moments of the game over on the sideline. That was a big catch.
Yeah, he had one too where he caught it on the 2-yard line, and he was against the one of the DBs for the Eagles, and he got pushed out of bounds. and I was watching the game with Tyler. And it was interesting because he was like, "Come on, man! Like Rudy he's twice that guy's size. Like, can't he get it into the end zone? Like he just went out of bounds when he probably could have overpowered the guy." Do you get a sense of that, Joe, from Rudolph, that maybe Rudolph is averse to getting hit or
injured?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. He's always been one of those guys where he's not going to make a lot of moves on you. He's a big dude, and he's going to turn around, and he doesn't seem to try to run through somebody. He's going to get his yards and go down. But I got no problem because you throw it to him, he's going to catch it, and he's a big target, and he's right now in this offense. He's a huge safety valve, and I think you made a good point. The more that people focus on those two, he's going to benefit. So, he's not a big yak guy. He's just not going to be in. And as a result, he's been pretty healthy the last few years.
That's true.
First 3 or 4 years in his career, he was
banged up.
He was running over more people, and he was getting injured all the time. So I don't have a problem with it. Can move on to number 2, or
yeah, I'm trying to find my agenda, and all I because my book closed, and I see Sam Bradford. Will he be back this week? Yikes! Those were dark days. No, there it is. The Linval Joseph, I believe, is the next
64-yard return by Linval Joseph. And as I said on our chat, rumble, stumble, bumble, but it really wasn't. The guy turned and he just straight lined it.
Flying.
It's a relative term. I put it was a straight sprint to the end zone, but sprint in quote marks. But he was moving pretty good. Got a great block from Sheldon Richardson that got him loose. And then Kendricks was following him down on the backside, but it was just fun to watch. The guy's first touchdown
was his first touchdown.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to get the stats from his shoulder pads, see what his top end speed was.
I've got it right now.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they put it up on ESPN last night. So for context, Stephon Diggs, the fastest he has been all season, 21.2 miles per hour. Linval hit 18.2 miles per hour. He was flying.
Good for him. He appeared to be running on the tip of his toes, like he was almost on a wire. Like he was. Granted, he needed about 3 tanks of oxygen afterwards, but that was one of the greatest touchdowns.
And his sunglasses.
Yeah, totally.
He had to look cool. He knew the cameras were going to be on him.
He is one of the funnest dudes to talk to. God, I love talking to that guy. He's a great guy, and he'll come and give you the time. He'll give you the time of day, and he's just genuine. And I loved when he throws on the shades and the oxygen mask. God, what a sight.
So last year, I was going to just tell a quick story. Last year, I was at camp at night. It was after the Saturday night game, and it was the day that Linval signed his contract. So I saw him as I was walking to, this was in Mankato, I was walking to press parking. Good for me. And I see Linval wearing his jersey but shorts. I don't know how he got out of, because I was coming right from the end of practice, standing on the field with the team watching fireworks and going straight to my car. So he must have missed the fireworks and gone and gotten this moped, like a brand new scooter moped that he must have bought as like a reward for his new contract. And he was wearing those sunglasses, and he was riding down that main street on Mankato where people would line up for autographs. So about 2 minutes later, I'm on a side street right where the parking lot, Joe, you would know where this is, the side street that goes towards the press parking, and I hear that scooter motor going like 100 miles per hour. And I turn around, and there's like this young girl riding it by herself, and she completely biffed it. Like the handlebars started shaking, and she flipped over the handlebars. And I was a good 50 yards away, and I was like, oh my God. And then I heard like that Jurassic Park when the cup of water starts shaking. I heard these footsteps just running, and it was Linval running to get her, who must have been a family member of his, and he was moving at a similar speed to that touchdown. So I knew I always knew he had it in him, and I'm so happy that he got to do that. Because, I mean, I was telling Tyler, we were making fun of him, and I'm like, I'm a bigger guy, too. Tyler isn't. I was like, I guarantee you he would dust you in, like, a race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's an athlete. There's no choice about it.
Did you hear what Cousins said after the game? Like, have you guys seen Cousins' pregame speech yet?
No.
No.
It's a good pregame speech. It got me a little goosebumpy, but...
You say you like that? Did he say you like
He did not, but he...
you Vikings.
Man, he was...
That was his branding opportunity to do that.
Absolutely, but he was hot during that pregame speech, but he said in his press conference after the game that Linval walked up to him 20 minutes before kickoff and said, "Hey, you got the pregame today." And Cousins said, "And when Linval Joseph tells you to do something, you do it." And I think that just shows the respect that everyone has for him in the locker room too. I think because he's so genuine, everyone just respects him. I think he's a really good leader, and I think
is he a captain?
He is a captain, I believe, but I think he's the de facto
from
defensive leader now that Griffin's gone, isn't he?
Right.
He has a Super Bowl, first off, so he's got that to his name. And then also he's just, he's a constant playmaker. He has been putting pressure on the QB, which is something he's not known for. And then he has that huge play, and I mean, he's just, I love Linval. He's probably my favorite Viking now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Moving on to number 3, I'm going to put these two together. This is the Revitalite sponsored.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay. We got. I'm going to throw these out here all at once, and I'll let you guys just comment on whatever. But starting with QB hits, there were 8 on Wentz with 3 sacks, which was huge for this defensive line, and it was crucial in the game. But on the other side of the coin, Cousins was hit 11 times, but only 1 sack. Cousins was pressured. I heard the stat yesterday and dug it up, and he was pressured on 18 of 42 dropbacks, which was 43%. And on those passes, he was 16 of 18 for 179 and a score. That's a 134.1 QB rating under duress.
That's amazing. And I'll cut you off on that one really quickly just because that was another topic, too, was the toughness of Cousins. I think that is a huge sign because I know that from the debates we had about bringing him here on the Purple Journal podcast, one of Luke's, not to throw shade at Luke, but one of Luke's concerns, which was a valid concern, I've heard it a million other places, was that Cousins was bad under pressure and he would throw panic picks. For whatever reason, I don't know what you attribute it to, but if you look at some of those big plays, the double move I talked about with Thielen, that touchdown to Thielen, which was one of the most gorgeous touchdowns ever, which is the second time I've said that in the short season between Cousins and Thielen. He had that one that dropped right in a couple weeks ago, I think, where he backed into the end zone. He's been amazing. He was hit on both of those plays. Yep. He's standing back. He's taking those hits. He's making the throws. I think about that throw to Diggs as well, where Diggs, where they had that bad review, where Diggs had to kind of reach out for it and kind of look janky when he was putting his feet in. I love it. Obviously, how can you not? But my question to you guys to flip this around is, do you worry about that in regards to either injuries or him getting gun shy at some point?
Not so much injuries for me, but I think, and I don't know if he'll get gun shy because he's pretty frenetic back there. He knows it's coming, and I think that's from experience of having a leaky offensive line that he's had to play behind. So I think that's his natural default position. But you're going to find at some point he might throw a bad pass under duress. I don't think it's like all of a sudden he's cured of this. I think that was the reputation, and he earned it to a certain degree. But he has been making unbelievably touch passes under duress that have just blown me away. It's like, how does he do that? Someone was talking about the trajectory of his throws versus Keenum's last year, who also did a lot of under duress. He was great under duress last year.
Yeah.
But he would just kind of throw it up there, and his receivers would go make plays. Cousins is throwing it into short, tight windows on, with something on it while the guy is just coming in and getting ready to smoke him. Now, maybe it just occurred to me, these new rules are giving him a little more courage that they know, you're not going to get lit up. So maybe you can hang in there. Maybe that's helping him. I'm not going to say...
Oh, man. That is such a good take. Because my dad felt... we were watching the game together, obviously, as we always do. And he said something similar, maybe not in that context, but that there's this thing going on across the league with these new rules. And, it's having an effect. And... I forget the other example he cited, but there was something in the paper from another team that was similar. Really quickly, too, we should put out there, I wanted your guys', since you brought it up, Joe, your feeling on that roughing the passer on, what's his face from Seattle?
Bennett.
Bennett, there you go. I wonder... I know the crowd was livid. It was still second down, though. It's not like they gifted them to that extent anyway. What's his name? The guy they talked to on Fox said it was a bad call. Yeah. But then I heard someone else, another ref, saying I'd call it every time because there was force applied below the knee. You got to wonder. I mean, that was the perfect scenario if you wanted to complain about that type of rule for that to happen. Because
go ahead, Jordan. What do you think?
Man, I hate saying that the Vikings benefited from a call, but we benefited from a call. It was a bad call. Cousins got hit at the thigh, and then Bennett fell to the ankles. And what are you supposed to do if you're the defender?
Yeah.
You're going to the ground. Are you supposed to just say, okay, well, I'm out of the play now because I got blocked to the ground? Right. No, you go and make the tackle, and he did it the right way by hitting Cousins in the thigh. But if there is an Eagles fan that catches wind of this, don't complain about calls, okay? Calls, one or two bad calls shouldn't win or lose you a game. Your team should be good enough to go out and overcome a few bad calls. Like, you don't want to be in the position where OFOE can cost you a game in any aspect of life. So it's annoying hearing Eagles fans saying, that call's why we lost right there. It's like, you really think Cousins couldn't have found Thielen on a 20-yard touchdown pass instead of a 5-yard touchdown pass?
Yeah, and it should have been, Bailey should have made those field goals, and it shouldn't have been this close in the first place. So you're right about that.
I would interject though that it was a gift. There's no two ways about it. And that is as weak as a tackle of a quarterback as I've seen all season. I mean, he just gingerly dragged him down, and Cousins just kind of said, "Oh, I'm going down." It was almost happening in slow motion. It was in today's rules where you're worried about not hurting him. I don't think that it might have been the letter of the rule, fine, but it happens to everybody in the game. I mean, Zimmer was pretty in his press conference yesterday. He tried to not say anything, but he almost, despite himself, he could not call the penalty on Andrew Zendejo in the end zone a weak call. I mean, he stopped himself 3 times from saying it. But what he was basically saying was he thought, he got that, that gave them the, first and goal at about the 5. So you can see that they got their touchdown back in that regard.
Exactly.
So I mean, it goes back and forth both ways. I'm not gonna say no. We don't want that penalty. We want to beat you. Blah 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 blah. We'll take it because it goes. How many games have you been in with the Vikings?
Did you think that was a bad call on Sunday?
Which one? Bad? No. I thought, I don't think he hit him that hard. I don't think he
intentionally speared him or led with his head.
I don't think he went helmet to helmet too much. There was maybe a little bit there, but I think there was a little bit of reputation involved. They know who Zendejo is.
That's true.
And what he does, and if you get close, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and he's got to realize that. So I'll trust Zimmer on this, and it wasn't a great call, but I don't think it was egregious.
Look at that play though. Go for it. And I pointed out to my fiance while we were watching the game, Zendejo got knocked back on that play. Like, he was going to make a play on the ball, and it was like incidental contact, helmet to helmet, if you want to call it that. And then he fell backwards and took the most of like the blunt first. So I thought it was a terrible call, just because like if you're gonna say defensive backs have every right to the ball as the wideouts do, then if the defensive back is making a play on the ball and Zach Ertz's helmet hits Sendejo's helmet, call it on them. Like I didn't like the call at all. That's all I was gonna say. Is just Sendejo looked to take a worse hit than Zach Ertz did.
The one call the Vikings didn't get called on them, which was probably lucky, and I was waiting for, was Harrison Smith's hit on Alshon Jeffrey on that third down call.
Yeah. It was 3rd and 20, and he hit him hard. And he's a big dude.
That's the sad part about like the NFL right now, is it was a legal hit if I'm not mistaken. He shoulder to back, big
kidney
hit.
shot.
It's what the NFL is, but you're scared as a Vikings fan to, holy crap, that just cost us the game, didn't it? Because they're going to call some bullcrap penalty on us.
Yeah.
So the officiating is a mess right now, and the NFL kind of needs to calm down with this safety initiative.
Yeah, the example I was thinking of, I forget what team, but there was a defender who said basically I could have stopped a touchdown, but I didn't want to hit him as hard as I could have to do so. I did want to mention a stat that I saw just before the show started, which was that I think Cousins is the first, and I find this surprising, so maybe I read this wrong, maybe it's not an NFL thing, maybe it's a Vikings thing. The first quarterback to have 30-plus completions in 4 games to start the season.
I'm not sure if that's NFL or just Vikings. I know
either way, that's amazing.
Absolutely. I know he's like the first QB since so Sam Bradford did it last year, but then you have to look all the way back to Brett Favre in 2009 to like throw for as many yards as he did and still have an 80% completion rating.
Yeah.
So I know he set that like Vikings, I'm
getting a feeling like, you remember when Drew Brees he played for the Chargers for a while, and then he had that shoulder injury, and a lot of teams were wary of him because he was undersized. Came out of the Big Ten. My Big Ten reference for the episode.
Wait for that. I thought tonight when I was watching, I said, "Oh my God, this guy's a Big Ten quarterback." What are we gonna do?
And you got to feel like Cousins is on the same trajectory. I couldn't be happier with what he's been doing. Is the main point. And the final point of the tails of the tape was the 6 tackles apiece for Barrs and Kendricks. That kind of ties into a larger point, which is, the defense did play better, and I know we kind of discussed this a lot across the shows last week, Joe, and my phone just died, and I had a great quote all lined up. But we were wondering whether it was a scheme thing or a execution thing, and there were, whether or not Zimmer was overcoaching the team, and if he was going to simplify things, so on and so forth. It's hard to simplify things when you're going against Doug Peterson too. That's we got to bring that up. But from what I saw in the CBS article, basically the team was saying that it was an execution thing, and they just executed better against the Eagles. And so I think, especially with Barr, tackles are a hard measurement because it can mean multiple different things. But you have to be pleased with what they're doing, and I don't know if you guys, Joe, you had any takes on maybe specifically why they seem to play better, especially against the team that lit them up.
I think that
not too long
everybody
ago
was talking about it. He clearly simplified this defense. He said, even Zimmer said afterwards, he went and looked at what they were doing wrong, and he said, I went into the defensive room and I told him, I said, guys, this is what we're doing, this is what we got to do, and he said they focused on it and worked on it all week, and I don't want to say dumbed it down, but he simplified. He put them back in. I think Ben Lee kind of describing how it was. They were going to almost like a zone defense rather than all these hidden things moving Harrison Smith all over the place, trying to confuse the quarterback as whether they're going to blitz or not, and they just kind of went back into their either too high or whatever zone reads, where if you'd go and someone came into your zone, then you would take them as man-to-man rather than all the shifting around, and maybe Peterson wasn't, he didn't anticipate that, and he was looking at the team that he had seen the first 4 games, so he was going to do something there. But it actually rattled Wentz. They got to him a number of times, and he was uncomfortable in the pocket, and maybe what they anticipated wasn't happening for him. But I thought it was great. Barr looked good. Barr looked like, and Kendricks looked like they knew where they were supposed to be, and they went out and made plays rather than chasing someone, who they were mismatched against down the field for a touchdown. So I'm not a big X's and O's guy, but I think that's what needed to be done. I think that's what he did do, and you saw some results from it. I thought it was great. I mean, to watch this defense play like they had, closer to how they played last year rather than this year.
Yeah, step in the right direction, like we said. I mean, the turnover, I think I said that the turnover battle is going to be a big part of it, and that the Vikings want to be able to have more than one turnover. It is a bend, don't break defense. Outside of the Rams game, I mean, they held the Packers to 5 field goals and 1 touchdown. I do want to just put out there that I loved watching the Packers lose to the Lions because of field goals. It was the most poetic of justices imaginable. And here's the quote. It's loading. This is, everyone's on the edge of their seat for this one.
It's great radio.
Isn't it amazing? The difference, this article says, not changes made to strategy, players said, just better execution. Here's a quote. Yeah, just focusing on what we already do, just getting back to the basics of what we do in our scheme. So doing that helped us out a lot. Mike Hughes said, not a guy who has a ton of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Experience?
Yeah, context, his point of view is a little bit limited, but considering Trey Waynes didn't play, he stepped up. Maybe they did simplify things because they had to, and maybe it worked.
Joe, I heard Zimmer say that he benefited from not having to practice all week at both corner and as a slot.
Ah.
And I thought that was really telling. He said he got to just focus on corner all week because Trey wasn't going to play, and he said he had one play where he missed. I think it was a long, or was that the Shelton Gibson pass? But other than that, he was he had a nice afternoon. Really nice to see.
Jordan, did you want to touch on the defense at all?
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kendricks, who is, my favorite player on the team because I like somebody who's, just consistently good at what he does. He's been terrible this season, and his PFF grade was actually, it was bad yesterday, but I think some other things covered that up. AB had a good game, and I think Smith did some stuff down in the box like he does that also helped cover it up. But I think someone said it earlier, there's a long road to go for this team, but you have to make this step. I like that we bounced back, it appears, and if you would have told me last week, hey, you guys are going to hold the Eagles to 21 points, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. So things are good again. Like we can be a good football team again.
And that's the standard. I mean, a lot of us were saying across our shows, when the Vikings defense holds a team to 21 points or less, they're like now 20-1, I believe.
Yeah, and Cousins, whenever he was in Washington, over like 3 seasons, only had like 5 games when he didn't score 22 points or more. So, yeah. I wrote a whole piece about that, how Cousins is he can come in and he can sling the ball around, and Cook's coming back, and the defense is going to be great, and the defense hasn't been great, but I think there's a lot of overreaction. I mean, Zimmer said it in his interviews. The team, we had 2 losses at this point last season, and then we won, and we had 2 losses this season, and we won. So let's see what happens. Let's wait and let some more football be played before we decide that the Vikings defense is trash now.
Yeah, I do want to say that I think there was a different feeling last year when we were 2-2. I felt that was more injury based than like the defense needs, moral victories or anything like that. I was wondering, did you guys see George Iloka at all during the game? Did he get any snaps? That was a big question.
I heard he had like 7 snaps or something like that, and he was. Someone attributed, it might have been Zimmer attributed that to being able, both he and Javon Curse had a great game back there when because they could, they were moving up and playing kind of this hybrid safety, slash linebacker in the slot. So he said it was very instrumental for both of them. And Curse to get all those snaps was huge. So maybe that's something you're going to see from both of them. But we saw it was coming. Iloka, well, he didn't get great numbers. I haven't looked him up this morning, but it was more than he had to be for sure.
So here's the real question. Oh, go for it, man.
I was just going to say, I know that Javon Curse has been getting snaps all season. He's been doing some stuff in the slot, and he's looked pretty good. Like, I thought he was gone once we signed Iloka, and for him to step up and kind of take a big step in his, progression as a player like that, and to be able to, cover in the slot and, play that, hybrid slot slash linebacker slash safety role, that's huge for him. And I didn't see Iloka in the game, but I'm really glad that I didn't see him, because I feel like on defense, if you don't hear somebody's name, it's a good thing, unless
Xavier
it's the
Rhodes.
defensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the real question, though, I wanted to ask you guys, too, earlier. How good do you think the Eagles are at this point? Having seen them, obviously Wentz is getting the rust off.
Yep.
Alshon Jeffrey was back.
They just lost their running back for the season.
Is he out?
Yeah, he ACL.
Is that why when he fumbled the ball?
No.
Oh, it isn't?
No, I don't know what the timing was of, but he hurt his knee on one play, came out, they put a brace on, and he came back in and played.
I think it was the touchdown, because he tweaked his knee in the touchdown, and earlier I said that was similar to Dalvin Cook when he tore his ACL. The ball, the pain, the ball shoots out, and that I'm pretty sure that's what happened. That's brutal. But yeah, what do you guys think about them as a team?
They're suffering from a number of different things. They're a Super Bowl hangover. I heard someone, I was reading some of the Eagle stuff yesterday, and that's what they're saying, that there was so much excitement after they won it, and Peterson wrote a book, and Nick Foles wrote a book, and they're, on and on and on and on and on. So you're going to have that hangover. They've switched from one quarterback to another this year, which is a little bit problematic. As you mentioned, Wentz is coming back from an injury. Running back issues, because J.J. was injured before this, and now he's gone for the season. They've had a couple injuries. They've had some injuries in their defense. They're going to be in out east. I don't think they'll be back, at the top of that division by the end of the year, and I think they'll probably play much better than they are now. You also got everybody in the league wants to drill them. You don't think the Vikings wanted to drill them yesterday where they were embarrassed, and you have a target on your back when you're the champion. So they got to rise above all that. They were kind of under the radar, especially at the end of the year, and everybody was picking against them. Well, they don't have that motivating chip on their shoulder. So I think they're still a very good team. They're not playing like it right now. So I hope they dig a huge hole, and the Vikings will hopefully be ahead of them at the end of the year when they start doing playoff seedings. I hope so. Jordan?
Yeah, the win yesterday, especially the East right now, the NFC East is so tight that if they don't win it, we now have the head-to-head advantage if we are also in that wild card competition. But I think the Eagles are good. I think they have a good team, but their offensive line isn't playing as well. Peters looks like he's maybe getting old. Lane Johnson is not. I mean, he's good, but he hasn't played that good. He's given up big plays in 2 back-to-back games. He gave up a big sack in the Tennessee game, and then he gave up that fumble that Linval took to the house in yesterday's game. And so, their offensive line was a big thing for them last season in their run game, and now they don't have J.J. 2 of their best guys aren't playing well.
Sproles was out and old.
Exactly. You look at their secondary, they're kind of banged up there. Their defense isn't. I mean, their defense is similar. It's the bend don't break. But when your offense can't move the ball successfully, then even those, whenever you bend and give up 3, it's detrimental and you end up losing a game by 2, you know? So, I just have to point out that I said on the pregame show, everyone thinks Carson Wentz is going to be the MVP for the next decade because
you did say that.
And Carson Wentz has had one good season, and I hate to sound like Skip Bayless, but like Carson Wentz has only had one good season. He didn't look great his rookie year. He looked amazing last season, but he's coming off an ACL. He's knocking off rust. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback, but he's not, you know, the GOAT or anything. Like, people are so hyped up about him, and everyone thought he was going to come back this season and blow everybody away, and he's
got Andrew Luck syndrome.
Maybe he does have a little Andrew Luck in him. Like, we don't know what he's going to be. He could be Andrew Luck, and he could lacerate his kidneys in a season or 2 and, you know, miss 3 seasons back to back to back. Like, he's too young to call right now. So, I mean, the Eagles are going to be a complete football.
Sure, and he's going to be a very good quarterback, and I think he will be in some of the runnings for MVP again once he gets his confidence back. I mean, when you know, part of his deal last year was he played so recklessly at that position, and once you tear your knee up and you don't want it to happen again, you're going to be a little reticent to, you know. I mean, I think we're even seeing that with Dalvin Cook. He's not the same as aggressive a runner as he was last year. So I think you got to take a season or so and to get yourself back to the confidence level. You say, okay, this is my new knee. It's going to be just as good as anything else, and then believe that. I mean, you can say it until you're blue in the face, but I mean,
he was hurt late in the season too. It's not like he's had a ton of time.
I think he's going to be a solid.
He's got the arm. He knows the position very well. I think I think you're right in that everybody's jumping on it too soon, but I think you're going to see him back in that conversation going forward.
Oh yeah, I definitely think he's going to be a very solid QB, like, you know, throughout his career, and I think he's going to have a long and nice career, and he's definitely going to be hungry because that Super Bowl isn't his.
Yeah.
You know, like he has the ring, but I don't think he wants to wear it in public. Like, it's kind of his, you know, it's a half Super Bowl ring, I guess. But my comparison to him is not as a player, but just like, do you remember 2 or 3 years ago, Joe, Derek Carr of the Oakland Raiders? Everyone was so high on him. Like,
he got a big contract
in 2015, too. And he got a big contract, and he's been good, but he hasn't been, you know.
Amari Cooper got me 1.6 points this week, so that's all you need to know about that, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't have a team around him either, though. There's a very good coach a very good team out in Philly as opposed to Oakland, and I think that the one out in Oakland's been deteriorating, and they're going through all kinds of crud with the new coach, and they're going to move the franchise, so it's going to hurt Carr for a few years. But I think you might see Philadelphia dip this year a little bit, but they'll be back. And Peterson's a very innovative coach, and he's gonna, you know, they're gonna build a good team out there. So I think you make a great point about Carr, but I think the pieces in place for Wentz for him to succeed are a lot more.
And a shout out to Jonathan Kinsley / Brick Wall Blitz. He writes for Purple PTSD. He did say that the offensive line for the Eagles, this was probably the best time to play them in that regard. He wrote that last week. I was going to do it unfortunately, and it was really something we just touched on, that we touched on at the beginning of the show, which was that a lot of the fans are still really down on the team. So fortunately they won. Unfortunately, I just wanted to get that out there, but we talked about it, the negativity. Let them do it, you know. I did just find to wrap the show up, talk about Dan Bailey's misses. With Tyler being over, he looked at me and he goes, you know, it doesn't matter who the kicker is. You could put, you know, like vintage Vinatieri in a purple uniform and he'll fall apart. He obviously came through in the clutch. I heard his post-game show interview with on KFan, and he said the 53-yarder was perfectly executed. He felt really comfortable. He said it in a way that implied that the misses weren't. And then so he went back and said, well, I don't want to say that there was anything wrong with the misses. He said it was a technical issue with him.
Not one on himself, I thought. You know, one of those 2 misses, I thought. And the second one might not have been. I mean, you got a snapper with a missing half of a pinky.
That's true. He said that he was hooking left in practice or before the game, so that he aimed for the right upright, and that it just didn't turn for him. But real quick question. I mean, do you guys have any concerns there?
No, the fact. Zimmer said after the game he knew he was going to drill that 52-yarder. I was feeling like, I was a little concerned, but I thought this guy's got this. I felt different about him than I was when Daniel Carlson was lining up his 35-yarder. I felt, okay, this is going to go in, and not 100%, but so I was pretty excited when it did. I'm good with him. I have no problems going forward. I mean,
I didn't even get up to smoke a cigarette for it.
Pardon me?
I usually go outside to smoke a cigarette, and for the 53-yarder, I actually watched it. So maybe that's the key.
He was kicking outside, and he's an indoor kicker.
That's true.
Give him a little bit, and he made the adjustment, and he didn't lose his mind, and he won the game. So it's like awesome.
Yeah, it was actually I feel better about him now than I did before, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. He made the one that counted. He put us up by 2 possessions. I have an issue when I watch the games, especially in high tense moments like that. I'll grab like the closest soft item around me and I'll chuck it if something bad happens. And I had my wallet ready. I mean, I was about to sling it like Drew Brees was slinging it last night, and he made it. And then I held on to it, and I was like, okay, we can hang on. But we just have some bad luck, don't we? I mean, even Thielen almost missed that onside, and he's got arguably the best hands on the team.
Yep.
And the ball bounces right to him. And I know that there was spin on it, and it's an onside, and Philly has a surprisingly good onside team with their kicker, but
that was a knuckleball. Come on, you got to.
Yeah.
He handled it. I mean, I thought he went down.
His reaction time too.
I thought going down to his knees might have been. He should have, stood up, but then maybe if he doesn't, it bounces low off your shin. So he handled it like the baseball player that he used to be in high school. He played high school baseball.
Oh, it's a shortstop move.
Yeah.
I'm by no means knocking Thielen because he ended up getting it. I'm just saying, it's just the team in general, just like that bad luck aspect of okay, Thielen's there, ball's bouncing to him. Oh, it turns into a knuckleball at the last second because the weird spin that he put on it, and he almost messes up. And then, Bailey missing 2 kicks and Daniel Carlson costing us a win in Lambeau. Just so much stuff, but you got to deal with it.
What about Mason Crosby? He misses 4 field goals. How bad a luck is that? That's one of the better kickers in the game. And I mean, I know I totally agree with you. It seems like the Vikings have terrible luck, especially in big games, and I think our mentality is to pile them on each other and focus on those every time the next thing happens. But in fact, he did recover that fumble. In fact, he did make the 52-yarder. In fact, the Vikings did win this game and got the benefit of a bad penalty call and I just think, speaking to those people that you talk about, Joe, I think they just focus on that, expecting, and even I expect that it's the Vikings, something bad's going to happen, but it happens to everybody. We just don't know about it. We don't focus on it. We don't Vikings may be more magnified because they don't have a Super Bowl championship, but when you've watched this team as long as I have, nobody knows more about their history of bad luck or bad play or what have you. So you just gotta accept it as part of the game. You gotta love the fact that this ball is so oddly shaped. That's why it came drilling at Thielen's chest. I mean, it was a great kick by their team. The other team made a really good play, and they almost got away with it. So I don't know. I know what you're saying. I know what you're feeling. I feel that deep down, but I don't. I try not to focus on that. Who said it many times? You make your own luck in this league, and that's what you got to do.
It's funny that there's that saying. To win a Super Bowl, you got to have some balls bounce your way. Well, you know what? The Vikings got a ball to kind of bounce their way on Sunday with Thielen recovering that. So.
And the NFC North is wide open. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit on our Friday show. Just what's going on with the Packers. Granted, they had all those missed kicks. How good are the Bears? How good are the Lions, who beat the Packers and the struggling Patriots. I did want to tease a project that I think Tyler and I are working on, which is before the league merged in whatever year, the Vikings actually won the NFL championship, and the trophy was called the Jim Thorpe Trophy. And at some point in the 70s, they lost that trophy. Some people say the Packers stole it during a game at the Met. We're basically going to try to do a deep dive, either series of articles, or documentary to find out where the hell this trophy is.
I love it.
Yeah. I actually teased this like a year and a half ago on Reddit as a joke. And I got such a strong response from people saying, holy shit, you should do that? That would be amazing. So, unfortunately, for other reasons too, this sounds super selfish the way I'm saying this, but there was the guy that Joe, you knew, that passed away recently, who was the team historian, and I think he came from, he was an equipment manager before that, I believe, so he would have really good insight. Trainer. Okay, so yeah, I'm looking for people who were around at that time. If anyone listening has an idea or an uncle that used
Dennis
to...
Erickson is with the team. You could call and see if they could set you up an interview with Dennis Erickson, who's the equipment manager and has been for forever.
I knew you would know, Joe. I was going to ask you off air too. Tyler said all we need is one or two really great interviews, and then we can kind of fill in the rest. So I'm really excited about that because I think that could be really cool. Other than that,
conclusion about that, and it's not the Packers. It was
yeah, it's in Moscow next to Lenin. Other than that, I'm going to be doing a post really outlining what Purple Territory Radio is. Morning Joe's is our biggest show thus far. That or Purple Journal Podcast, if you want to consider that part of it. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jordan. We're going to be having a lot of guests coming up. Tyler and I also might start doing live game commentary. Not play-by-play as much as just, thoughts. And if you watch it kind of Dark Side of the Moon style, sync it up with the game. It could be just fun, extra content for you guys. So keep an eye out for that. Check out Vikings Territory and Purple PTSD on social media. Follow Jordan at, what's your Twitter again?
jhawthorn16@gmail.com, and Hawthorn does not have an E on it.
And you can follow Joe at Joe Orberly, and you can follow me at Purple PTSD. But this has been the Purple Journal Podcast.
No, it hasn't.
Oh, this has been the Morning Joe's? Who am I talking to? Where am I? We'll be back on Friday to talk about the Cardinals. Thanks for listening.